When there's something strange in your neighborhood, who the hell are you gonna call? None other than the Ghostbusters, guys. Welcome back to the Halloween special. It has been such a fun ride. This is the final week of the special leading up to Spooky Day itself, October 31st. We're just gonna do all fun movies, and we're gonna start it off with an instant classic, an iconic pop culture phenomenon in the Ghostbusters. This one was directed by Ivan Reitman, rest in peace, starring comic legends Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis, rest in peace, Ramis. Aykroyd and Ramis actually penned this screenplay. Bill Murray was brought into the fold. And man, they got so many other talented, funny people on board for this. Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis, just to name a couple. And if you're not familiar with the plot of Ghostbusters, which I'm sure there's like 2 of you that don't know what these are, but what the heck, I'll be nice. A trio of scientists lose their cushy positions at a university in New York City. So these 3 nerds decide to become Ghostbusters to wage a high-tech battle with the supernatural for money. Actually, it's more so Venkman, played by Bill Murray's motivation, is money. They stumble upon a gateway to another dimension, a doorway that will release evil upon the city. So the Ghostbusters must now save New York from complete destruction. I feel like even if you've never seen the Ghostbusters before, you know what these nerds are all about. And I'm sure most of you have at least heard the iconic theme song, the Who You Gonna Call Ghostbusters and all that stuff. Like, I'm sure everybody has seen the logo floating around on t-shirts, on all different sorts of merchandise. Some people have actually, like, this is no joke. People who drive station wagons actually find themselves customizing their vehicles to look like the Ghostbusters mobile. I've seen a couple of them throughout my life, and they do a pretty damn good job. But I think that just shows you the overall impact this movie still has, almost 40 years after the fact. This is 100% quintessential viewing for any fan of comedy, any fan of scary movies. I think this is a really nice introduction. If you have younger children at home who are kind of curious about exploring the scary elements of movies, I think Ghostbusters has enough frightening elements for them, and I think it's a perfect blend of the classic 80s Bill Murray style of comedy with the spooky elements, and it all just comes together in this beautiful cocktail. Ghostbusters is undeniably iconic. The images you see in this movie are second to none. The practical effects that we get for the 1980s are pretty darn cool, especially for Slimer. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is so freaking memorable. Like, you know exactly what movie he's from. Like, you know exactly what movie he comes from, even if you don't know what Ghostbusters is or have never seen it. It's also so freaking quotable, man. This is a funny movie. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. But here's the one thing about this original Ghostbusters flick that I find so amazing. It doesn't really feel like these screenwriters are trying to be funny. Like, it just feels like these are people in this situation, and they're just being themselves. And they're funny people, and we just can't help but laugh at them. Bill Murray as Peter Venkman, it just might honestly be Murray's best work. This is a sarcastic, womanizing psychologist here. The whole introductory scene where he's flirting with the woman on that little survey thing that he has, as dated as it may be, it kind of has me cracking up a bit. And it just, like, it tells you everything you need to know about him. Dan Aykroyd is excellent in this movie as Ray Stantz. He is the guy who is probably the geekiest out of the bunch. Like, he just cannot contain his enthusiasm throughout this entire runtime. You want proof of that? Just go watch the scene where they actually purchase the property. And of course, the late Harold Ramis as Egon Spengler is the deadpan know-it-all, and it's absolutely perfect for him. There is no other movie in history other than Zombieland that will make you want a Twinkie, even though it's, you know, just kind of fluff and filler. And these 3 together just share such unbelievable chemistry. Like, you cannot teach this. Now, they do add a 4th Ghostbuster along the way in Winston Zeddemore, and by comparison, Zeddemore feels very underdeveloped, and it's kind of off balance if you look at him with these other 3 guys. The only huge development that Zeddemore actually gets is in this outburst that he has against the EPA agents and Walter Peck, but that doesn't stop you from liking this guy. Like, you're rooting for him to actually get in with these guys. And just those simple sequences where you see Stantz is training him. Just those teaching moments where Stantz is showing him how to empty the traps. Like, even though the supernatural is aplenty in this thing, Aykroyd and Ramis ground this script in so much reality, and it just makes you root for and get behind these characters even more, in addition to them being freaking hilarious. And I think they're all great in the action sequences as well. Even though a lot of these effects, you can certainly tell what time period they came out in, the facts that you're looking at a lot of these practical creatures and the facts that they're actually in front of you, the fact that you're seeing Sigourney Weaver being lifted up into the air a la The Exorcist, the fact that this whole opening sequence where the library cards are springing out of the drawers, like, I just can't help but look at Ghostbusters these days and admire the ambition. And like I said, as opposed to the new Ghostbusters that came out in 2016, it does not feel like the 1984 version is trying to be funny or make you laugh. All this dialogue feels like it's so effortless, and it doesn't really feel like they're playing to the audience, you know? I also gotta talk about Sigourney Weaver, because she was just coming off of Alien. Like, this is a badass in her own right. And even though she's the romantic interest of Bill Murray in this flick, like, she's given so much to do. She's actually the first person who calls into the Ghostbusters for help because she sees that iconic commercial on television and she's dealing with some paranormal stuff in her apartment. And it's so genius. It gives Sigourney Weaver a reason for actually being a part of this plot and a big integral part of this plot. It gives the romance a reason for existing. Because it's so funny. When she walks into the Ghostbusters office for the first time, Bill Murray is just leaping over the railings to get to her. He is so freaking smitten by her. And I think they share really fun chemistry throughout the movie as well. Let's talk about Rick Moranis real quick. Man, is he hilarious. He plays this mousy accountant who has a humongous crush on Sigourney Weaver's character also. And yeah, his character, like, nowadays would definitely feel like the guy who's trying to be the most funny in the comic relief. But even then, it still feels so effortless. This guy has a gimmick where he constantly locks himself out of his apartment. That's so freaking funny. And it's like he locks himself out of his house while he's having a party. Like, did nobody let this guy back in? That's freaking hilarious. And then when him and Sigourney Weaver are both possessed by these creatures, my god, the comedy just ups itself so much going into this climax. Are you the Keymaster? And the enemies that the Ghostbusters have to fight are so memorable, and there's so many to count here. Sigourney Weaver's Dana is constantly troubled by the presence of Zuul. Zuul is basically the main minion of Gozer, who they encounter at the end. And then the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, who basically goes through New York City like he's King Kong. Like, nobody can stop him. That is except for the Ghostbusters, of course. And, like, again, the fact that this is a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and the fact that he's this gigantic monster just rummaging through the Big Apple, it's so funny. And the reason why Stantz actually picks the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man as the image of this monster, basically is the most harmless thing he could have thought of so that he couldn't cause any pain. That's freaking genius, and it's also freaking hilarious. Like, golly, guys, I couldn't tell you how much I love the Ghostbusters in just one single video, because this is just, like, I adore this movie. It's an instant comedy classic. It's a perennial Halloween movie that you guys should be watching every October. It gives you one of the best Bill Murray performances he's ever given. Aykroyd and Ramis as a team do wonders here. Reitman's direction is top-notch the whole way through. Sigourney Weaver is a great supporting character for Bill Murray and everybody else. I always get a chuckle out of Rick Moranis every time I look at this poor guy. Even the secretary, like, she has so many great one-liners. Ghostbusters, what do you want? Honestly, there's not much more I can say about this OG Ghostbusters that has not already been said. If you haven't seen it by this point, I urge you guys. This is essential viewing for anybody who loves movies. And anybody who loves fun movies, this should be top of your list. I'm going to give Ghostbusters an A+. God, it's so exciting to be able to talk about that one, guys. Let me know what you thought of this movie down in the comments section. And let me know what you thought of the other Ghostbusters sequels. Let me know what you thought of Afterlife, because I remember really digging that one when it came out. Loads that we can discuss over here and then some. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe and tap on that thumbs up. This is a great community of film lovers and entertainment lovers over here, and y'all are invited to the party. Loads more fun content still to come, especially in this Halloween special, where I'm just reviewing all fun movies for this last week or so. Next up is actually a sequel to the movie that started last year's Halloween special. That's right, we're looking at Scream 2, which some people have argued is one of the best Scream sequels aside from Scream 6. So keep your eye out for that video and much, much more, y'all. Guys, thank you again for tuning in. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.